Have you ever wondered what would happen if you tried to build a universe with computer code, but your instruction manual was an ancient mystical text? Well, that's pretty much the mind-bending idea behind a simulation called TET CRAFF, which literally merges modern programming with the cosmic blueprint of Kaballah. And if you think this is going to be some super serious academic thing, just look at this. This quote, it's the actual goal stated right at the top of the simulation's code. Make pyramids float and look cool near a black hole. It sounds so simple, right? Almost like a weekend project for a teenager. But believe me, this playful little instruction is the door to a model of reality that is just breathtakingly complex. So what is TET CRAFF, really? It's definitely not a game. The creators themselves call it a metaphysical engine. Its whole purpose is to be a visual framework that models something called the Sephirotic blueprint from Jewish mysticism. You can think of that blueprint as a divine architectural plan for all of existence. And when you think about it that way, suddenly those little floating pyramids start to seem a whole lot more significant. Okay, so before we dive headfirst into all the ancient mysticism, let's just start with the basics. What are the actual building blocks of this digital universe? What do you, the user, really do when you open it up? So the fundamental building block of everything is the tetrahedron, or TET for short. And you, the player, you get a pretty important role. You're the prime observer. You're basically God in this little universe. Every single time you press the spacebar, you create a new TET, which the code fascinatingly calls a fact. You connect these facts together with what look like white lines, and you use them to build these complex structures that all orbit a massive black hole at the center. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, here is where things take a really fascinating turn. This whole modern simulation, with its physics engine and its black hole, none of it is random. It's all meticulously based on a very old and very sacred architectural plan. And that blueprint unfolds in three distinct phases, which are known as the three temples. It starts with the seed, which is the portable tabernacle they carry through the desert. Then comes the actual structure, the massive physical second temple in Jerusalem. And finally, the ultimate goal, the perfected human body, which is seen as a living, breathing temple for the divine. And what's just wild is that the simulation's code follows this exact progression. So let's take a look at phase one. How in the world does a piece of computer code mirror the desert tabernacle, that very first seed of reality? The connections here are just amazing. In Kaballah, you have Keter, which is the divine will, the very first spark of creation. In TET CRAFF, that's you, the player. You are Keter. The act of creating the blueprint is literally just you pressing the spacebar to make a new fact. And the Holy of Holies, the most sacred space of all, it's the empty void on your screen right before anything exists. So from that initial blueprint, we move on to the actual building. How does the code create a world that actually reflects the physical architecture of the Second Temple? Well, the temple's structure was defined by its kelim, or its vessels. In the code, that's literally the world class that manages all the connections and pairs. The temple's foundation, called Yesod, is mirrored by those white lines, the joints that are literally programmed to aggressively pull together, trying to shrink down to zero length. Even the famous pillars of the temple, Yachin and Boaz, are represented by the simulation's magnetic forces and their polarity. And now we come to the final and most abstract phase of this whole blueprint, the third temple. Now, this isn't a building made of stone at all. It represents the perfected human being. So how on earth can code even begin to model that? Okay, this part is my absolute favorite. The third temple, it's you, the observer. The perfected human is represented by the way you interface with the simulation. Your camera, its position, its angle, that represents the skull and the divine aura. And the camera's vectors, how it actually perceives the world, map directly to the brain's hemispheres. You see, you're not just playing the simulation. In this model, you are the final temple. So we have three temples, a perfect trinity, a complete blueprint. But hold on a second. The simulation is called TET CRAFF. And TET, that means four. So if the blueprint is complete with three, where in the world is the fourth temple? The answer is the fourth temple isn't on Earth. It represents the moment the blueprint expands outward, from the microcosm of the human to the macrocosm of the heavens. You find it in the simulation's astronomical features. And this is where the code gets truly cosmic. That black hole at the center of everything, that is the abyss, the great unknown. There's a function called singularity spin, which represents the chaotic, wild energy just before creation manifests. And get this, a function called four-sphere past projection literally draws the celestial sphere, the zodiac, all around you, with each tiny dot representing one of the fixed stars. The level of detail here is just staggering. In Kaballah, the Sephirot, these divine emanations, each have planetary associations, and those associations map directly to physics constants in the code. So Chesed, which represents kindness and is linked to Jupiter, is literally the K sticky pull constant. Gevura, which represents severity and is linked to Mars, is the ego's pull that creates boundaries and separation. It's an ancient astrological model running as a modern physics engine. It's incredible. So we have the four temples, taking us from a single point of data all the way out to the entire cosmos. But there's one more secret element, a kind of hidden key that's needed to make the entire system actually work. And it's called dot, which means knowledge. It's often referred to as the hidden 11th Sephira. See, it's not a thing in and of itself, but it functions as a bridge. It's the absolutely crucial link that takes a thought from the head and translates it into an action in the body. Without dot, the world of ideas and the physical world would just stay completely separate. And what's really amazing is that this concept of a hidden bridge isn't unique to Kaballah at all. In Islamic mysticism, there's a concept that's almost identical. It's called the barzakh, or the isthmus, a hidden partition between the physical and the spiritual. It's like this shared deep insight into the architecture of reality that just happens to show up in different traditions. This analogy from the source material is what really makes it all click. Think of the divine emanations as a high-voltage power grid, and our reality is just a tiny light bulb. Da'at is the transformer box on the street corner. It's that hidden but absolutely essential component that steps down the infinite energy into a form that our finite world can actually use. Without it, the light bulb would just instantly pop. So, how do we put this all together? We've got four temples, we've got a hidden bridge. What does it all really mean? Well, the simulation offers one final, really beautiful metaphor to tie it all up. I want you to think of the entire TET CRAFF engine as a musical instrument. The first temple, the tabernacle, is like a single individual note. The second temple, the physical structure, is the actual violin itself, the wood and the strings. The third temple, the human observer, well, that's the musician playing it. And the fourth temple, the heavens, that's the grand concert hall where all the music reverberates. And that brings us right back to the name. The TET isn't just the number 4. It's the harmony, the beautiful chord that's created only when all 4 of these elements, the note, the instrument, the musician, and the hall, are perfectly in tune with each other. And only then can the prime observer, you, finally hear the music of the universe. Which of course leaves us with one last massive question. If our own reality is built on some kind of similar divine blueprint, then what music is it playing? And are we even listening?